Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat Podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog. Like I mentioned in the previous episode, I am currently in the Pocono Mountains, northeastern PA. Where I'm at, it's supposed to go down to 48 degrees tonight. So what a way to welcome September in. After midnight, sometime overnight, we're going to hit 48 degrees. Technically, it's still summer. Now, of course, me being who I am, I'm sitting on the back porch in my shorts and t-shirt, and it's probably, I don't know, I want to say 55, 54 right now. It's a bit nippy. I don't know if you can hear all the insects and wildlife in the background, but it certainly makes it an easier way to sleep. So, one of the things I was suggested to talk about on the podcast was ways to use real life history or real world history to inspire. I wouldn't necessarily use it to inspire settings. I think there's so much baggage involved in that. But you can certainly use it to inspire portions of your setting or plot lines of your setting. Where I am at, we're in the borough of Hawley. And the Stourbridge Lion it was the first working locomotive, the real one, in the continental U.S. And it ran its initial trip probably out of Honesdale, which is the county seat for Wayne County. And it only, if my memory serves me right, it only ran once. But northeastern PA is coal country. And prior to putting in the gravity rail, I'll explain that in a second, coal came out of the mountains, of the Pocono Mountains, and it was taken down by canal. And it was a laborious process. And then they built the gravity railroad, and that gravity railroad is pretty much what it sounds like. These railroad cars went by gravity down the tracks, and basically it took over business from the canals. Now you can think of that in your own gaming community. You can have a built-in commodity, whether it could be coal, it could be iron, could be copper or silver. I think gold would be too rich to use. Could be trees, wood. And there's a current way of getting this stuff out and transporting it, and then somebody else comes along and finds a way that's cheaper and quicker to do so. And you have an entrenched interest in using the old ways, and then you have these new people muscling their way in. Maybe the PCs get involved somewhere between these two. Maybe they're being hired to guard a base, guard a camp. Maybe they're being hired to infiltrate a camp and get information. Maybe they aren't being told the full story. Maybe the interlopers, the ones coming up with a new way, and maybe it's got some magical aspect to it, maybe their way actually costs more, but they're willing to take a price cut up front, lose money up front to steal the business, to basically become the default method, and then they jack the prices up. Maybe they've already done that, and the original business is trying to get the PCs to save their business. Maybe it's the elves and the dwarves, where they're both trying to harvest different material but from the same location. There's a lot of ways you can play off stuff that deals with commodities. And the players themselves don't need to, or the player characters themselves don't need to be invested in the commodity. They don't have to care about the coal. But maybe the interlopers, the ones coming in, introducing their new way to do things, maybe they're disturbing the status quo. Maybe they're upsetting the peasants. Maybe they're upsetting the common folk. Maybe they're upsetting the church. Think about that, too. An interesting fact of Honesdale is that Honesdale has 2 Catholic churches. Now, you would say, why would a town, borough, all these places are called boroughs, but why would the borough of Honesdale, the county seat, need 2 Catholic churches? Well, you needed one for the Irish, and you needed one for the Germans. Because the Irish and the Germans were all working the coal mines. But they were not socializing with each other, and they needed separate churches. Now think about that. So maybe you have a religion in your game world, but because the worshippers themselves are divided by nationality, but still live in the same community, there's 2 different churches of St. Cuthbert. Or 2 different parishes led by 2 different priests. And maybe even those priests, although they're the priests of the same God, maybe they don't get along. And maybe the players get dragged somewhere in the midst of this. Maybe one of the priests, maybe their congregation starts to create a schism, become heretics. That's always an interesting twist in a story, ain't it? There's a lot of stuff in the real world that can inspire. I can go back to New York City and look at the New York City subway system and all the disused tunnels for the train systems. Oh my God. Because when the New York City subway came into existence, it was actually run by multiple companies. I believe 3 before I think they all fell under one umbrella finally in like the 1950s. But there were 3 different companies building tunnels, building subway lines. Now, think of maybe there's a mine, there's a silver mine, and the dwarves come across some old tunnel that was sealed off, that was used 300 years ago by some other clan of dwarves. And why was it sealed off? And what's hidden behind it? I mean, those stories of homeless enclaves in the New York City subway tunnels, there are homeless people in the New York City subway tunnels, the abandoned ones, most certainly. But they're not a whole huge community. But maybe, what if there was? They'd probably be undead or something like it. Maybe they'd be insane. This, again, look at your community. Look at the history of your community for inspiration. You don't always have to go back very far to find little weirdness or little quirks that you can take and borrow and get inspired from. You know, if you go to Carbondale here in the Pocono Mountains, they still have fires burning in their coal mines. Long abandoned coal mines, these fires have been burning for decades and decades. If you can't tell me there's an inspiration in having a area of your world where the smoke from these coal mines are still permeating the ground and coming up once in a while, and the ground suddenly gives way in some areas, and somebody talks about how half their farm got sucked into the ground. Maybe it's an abandoned mine. And what's going on down there? What's causing that to happen? Why is stuff collapsing? And if it is, can the players, the PCs, can they enter that way? Again, there's inspiration to be had in the history around you. All you got to do is look. All you got to do is look. Most communities, Most counties have a historical society. Dig into it. You might find feuds that you can use. Maybe a weird invention. Just dig. Doesn't take too much. And with the internet, your digging is pretty easy. A lot of these historical societies have resources online. So that's today's episode. Again, I'm literally chilling on the back porch. I'm going to come in from this, have a couple of beers, a few snacks, and put my head down. And sleep the sleep of the innocent. Not that I'm innocent, but when I'm up here, I feel innocent. I feel cleansed from the sins of urban living. All right, folks. On that note, I'm going to bid thee all adieu. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.